What Caitlyn Clark did, because so many eyeballs were on her, was she is a huge multiplier effect of that.
I see a lot of players wanting to go, in this offseason, a lot of players are going to want to go to the Fever.
Picture this. You're at an Indiana Fever game, and the crowd goes wild as Caitlyn Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, and Satu Sabali take the court together. Sounds too good to be true?
I'm just trying to think of who potentially could be in their plans. Like, obviously, Satu Sabali.
I think we're obviously at this very pivotal time in the WNBA, and obviously led by the Indiana Fever. But I think all those experiences will lend themselves to hopefully doing the best job possible here.
Amber Cox just dropped hints about the Fever's offseason strategy, and it's got fans buzzing. In a recent interview, Cox opened up about her vision for shaping the team's future. As the new GM, she's not just making moves, she's orchestrating a complete transformation.
I think the entire world was shocked during the WNBA expansion draft when Tammy Fagbenley
Is a potential player who you can get via some sort of trade, via sign and trade.
GM Amber Cox just gave an interview that has fans buzzing about this exact scenario. Let's break down what she said and why it's got everyone thinking the Fever might be building a WNBA super team. The new GM did not hold back on this one, and we're covering it all in this video. Talking about Clark's Time Magazine Athlete of the Year honor, free agency, and what the Fever are doing to make them a championship team. Are you ready?
Unfold throughout the offseason.
This group obviously built great camaraderie in the second half of the season, so that was not an easy decision. It's clear there's more to this story than meets the eye. Here's where things get really interesting. Cox hinted at a bigger plan for the Fever. She teased fans with this cryptic message. It's really part of an overall plan, which hopefully everybody will see unfold during the offseason. What could she be up to? Is there a blockbuster trade in the works? Or maybe a high-profile free agent signing? Cox isn't new to this game. She's got
available, especially because when you look at last season, she played a really huge part in the Fever's success in terms of getting to that point where you all were able to make the playoffs.
Let's talk about Tammy Fagbenley. Cox's comments about not protecting her in the expansion draft caught everyone off guard. It's not every day you see a team willingly let go of a solid contributor, but Cox had this to say.
You know, it's really part of an overall plan, which hopefully...
In the WNBA, having helped guide the Phoenix Mercury to 2 championships. Her experience shines through in her approach to building a winning culture. She's focused on creating a team identity, emphasizing the need to improve defensively. We're still developing the identity. Getting better on the defensive side of the ball will help shape who we become over the next year or two, Cox explained.
So obviously we want to take the next step. So I think as we're looking to free agency, we'll think about veterans coming in with that playoff experience.
Now, let's talk about the Fever's financial situation. But the biggest news, it's all about Kelsey Mitchell. Cox put all the rumors to rest, stating clearly, "We want Kelsey back. She's had an incredible career here. No one deserves this opportunity to be a part of this success more than Kelsey." It looks like the Fever are going all in on keeping their star guard. While it hasn't been officialized yet since free agency has not yet begun, the Fever management have confirmed they will core Kelsey, which means she is guaranteed to come back for a year under a max contract.
So we want to reunite Caitlyn and Kelsey, and Kelsey, when I think about her and her time in Indiana.
About $650,000 in cap space to play with this offseason. That's enough flexibility to make some serious moves, including potentially offering max contracts to key players. Cox is clearly thinking big, targeting versatile players who can contribute on both ends of the court.
Obviously, as we get into free agency, the #1 priority for us is re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. I think that backcourt was about as lethal as we've seen in the WNBA, and I'm talking maybe in history in the second half of the season.
The basketball world by storm.
Caitlyn Clark was recently named Time's Athlete of the Year.
You might think being named Athlete of the Year is all glory and praise. For Caitlyn Clark, it's turned into an unexpected battle. As the basketball world takes sides, one voice is cutting through the noise with a perspective that might change how you see this whole situation. Caitlyn Clark's appearance on the cover of Time Magazine as Athlete of the Year should have been a moment of celebration for women's basketball. Instead, it sparked a fierce debate that's exposing deep divisions.
A lot of trials and tribulations throughout her career. So for me and for us, I'm most excited for her to be in this moment and experience so much success.
So, what's next for the Fever? With Cox at the helm, it seems like we're in for an exciting offseason. But as the team builds towards its future, there's another story that's got everyone talking. Caitlyn Clark, the Fever's superstar point guard, just landed on the cover of Time Magazine as Athlete of the Year. And not everyone's happy about it. Let's dive into the center of this controversy. Washington Mystics co-owner Sheila Johnson.
And Washington Mystics co-owner Sheila Johnson, responded to that by saying, I think the WNBA in its entirety should have been featured.
Johnson didn't hold back, criticizing Time's decision to feature Clark alone on the cover. She argued that the entire WNBA should have been recognized instead. When you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings, Johnson said. Her words hit like a thunderbolt, sending shockwaves through the basketball community.
Because when you just keep
deserves that award.
But amidst all the noise, one voice stood out. Amber Cox, the Indiana Fever's GM. Cox stepped up to defend Clark, and her words pack a punch. She didn't stop there, explaining how Clark's impact goes far beyond just her on-court performance.
Because she has so many fans, and you saw it across arenas, people are moving games because so many people wanted to see her play.
Cox painted a vivid picture of Clark's influence, saying, what Caitlyn Clark did, because so many eyeballs were on her, she's a huge multiplier effect of the league's current growth.
player, it creates hard feelings.
The backlash was immediate. Fans, players, and analysts jumped to Clark's defense, praising her incredible achievements and the spotlight she's brought to women's basketball. Others sided with Johnson, arguing that focusing too much on one player could overshadow the league's collective success.
How do you respond to those comments, and do you think the award should have been given to the entire WNBA rather than Caitlyn Clark individually?
Not a female superstar, she is a superstar.
We were coming to see Caitlyn Clark play.
She moves the needle. The WNBA has been looking for someone who moves the needle.
Picture this. A couple shows up to a game drawn in by the buzz around Clark. They're casual fans, maybe even first-timers. By the end of the night, they're walking out with season tickets. That's the kind of impact Clark is having, turning curious onlookers into die-hard supporters with a single game. Cox didn't ignore other rising stars like Angel Reese and Cameron Brink. She gave them their due, acknowledging their contributions to the sport. Praise. Cox backed it up with a real-life example that shows just how powerful the Caitlyn Clark effect really is. And the story you'll hear next will definitely warm your heart. If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We know watching this video takes some of your time, and we appreciate you. Now back to the action.
But we've never seen anything like Caitlyn Clark.
Caitlyn Clark
The question on everyone's mind is, how will Clark's star power impact the team's strategy? Speaking of strategy, remember that bigger plan Cox hinted at earlier? Well, it looks like we're about to get our first glimpse of what she had in mind. The Fever just made a move that's left fans scratching their heads, and it might be the key to understanding Cox's master plan for the team's future. Do you want to hear what's next?
Caitlyn specifically has such a unique skill set. She loves to run, just incredible vision. Stephanie White sat down right where you are and said,
away from other players that brought more eyeballs. Angel, Cameron, right? Like the identity and how much brand recognition these players now have in college absolutely helped the WNBA.
But when it comes to Clark, Cox didn't mince words. We've never seen anything like Caitlyn Clark. It's a bold statement, but one that's hard to argue with given Clark's record-breaking performances and the attention she's brought to women's basketball. As the Fever gear up for what could be a transformative
so how much are you thinking about the fit here as you close in on free agents?
It's the most important thing, right? You've got to get the players that fit with the system Stephanie wants to have on the floor.
Picture this. You're building a championship team. Do you keep the reliable veteran or roll the dice on future potential? The Indiana Fever just made that choice, and it's got everyone talking. What does Amber Cox know that we don't? Temi Fagbenley's departure from the Fever has left fans in shock.
But also her ability to run the floor with Caitlyn Clark and how their games complemented each other. That expansion draft, what was the thought process in making her available?
Last season, she was a solid contributor, averaging 6.4 points and 5.7 rebounds per game. Her ability to run the floor with Caitlyn Clark created a dynamic duo that helped push the Fever into playoff contention. And let's not forget, Temi's been a Clark supporter since day one. But now, Fagbenley's heading to the Golden State Valkyries, leaving Fever fans wondering, what's going on?
The expansion draft is difficult. It's hard to lose a player. 6 is not very many.
It's not easy. You never like to see a player leave. Temi was obviously an incredible piece to the success last year. But again, it's the price we pay for growth. We're really excited for Golden State to come online. And certainly it was a decision we made, but a decision that wasn't in a vacuum.
Protecting protecting anybody on your roster. And
The decision to leave Fagbenle unprotected in the expansion draft sparked intense debate among fans. Some argued her experience and locker room presence were too valuable to lose. Others speculated this might be part of a larger strategy to free up cap space for a big free agent signing. Social media lit up with theories, from trade rumors to concerns about team chemistry. It's clear the Fever's front office grappled with the choice, weighing Fagbenle's contributions against their long-term
strategy
vision.
that hopefully everyone will see unfold throughout the offseason.
Fagbenle's exit leaves a noticeable gap in the Fever's roster. Her versatility as a forward who could score, rebound, and block shots will be missed. The team now faces the challenge of finding a player who can fill multiple roles and maintain the chemistry that propelled their late-season surge. Could the Fever be eyeing a high-profile free agent to bolster their front court? Or perhaps they're looking to package their newfound cap space with draft picks, or maybe even Nalissa Smith for a blockbuster trade. The possibilities seem endless, and Cox's confident tone suggests she's holding some pretty good cards. It's clear the Fever are thinking long-term, willing to make tough choices now for future success.
I think the entire world was shocked during the WNBA expansion draft